I was a normal guy, just trying to survive college while balancing part-time jobs to cover my expenses. Emily was the exact opposite in her own way. An artist sketching everything she saw. But the rain was relentless that night, drumming on the city streets like 1,000 tiny drums. I ran after her, shoes sloshing through puddles, calling her name, but she didn't stop. Her hair was damp and clung to her face as she walked faster, each step pulling her further away from me. I shouted louder, my voice breaking, but she never even glanced back. I realized then, in that cold rain, that she had already left me. Her name was Emily. I met her in college. One of those serendipitous moments where you cross paths with someone who immediately feels like home. She had this laugh that could fill a room, eyes that seemed to peer into your soul, and a smile that made all your worries vanish. From the moment I met her, I knew she would change my life. I had fallen for her completely, heart and soul, and in ways I had never experienced before. But that night, with the rain soaking through my jacket and my chest aching with each breath, I realized that love, no matter how deep, can sometimes be fragile. Painting murals and capturing life in her own whimsical style. We were both ambitious in our own ways, but money was always tight. We bonded over the little things. Late night coffee runs, studying together in the library until our eyes hurt, cheap movie tickets, and laughter that echoed long after the night was over. Even though we had almost nothing, we had each other, and that felt like enough. I remember saving for small surprises. Her favorite chocolate, a bouquet of wildflowers, tickets to a concert she wanted to see. Her reactions were always genuine. She would throw her arms around me and whisper, "I don't need fancy things. I have you." Those words became my mantra. I believed in them completely, without ever questioning whether they were enough to sustain the future. The trouble began subtly. At first, it was little comments, almost jokes, about money. "I wish we could afford a nicer apartment," she said one evening, looking around our tiny, cramped place. "It's so small. I hate living here." "I promise we'll save," I said. "We'll work together. One day, we'll have the place we've always dreamed of." But over time, her glances at social media became more frequent, more longing. She would scroll through images of friends' apartments, vacations, and luxuries, her fingers hovering over the screen a little too long. At first, I thought nothing of it, assuming it was normal curiosity. But then I noticed her demeanor changing, her subtle frustration when I couldn't afford something, her veiled disappointment when I suggested saving instead of splurging. When I landed my first full-time job after graduation, I thought things would finally stabilize. I was earning enough to pay bills comfortably, save a little, and even splurge occasionally. I worked long hours, trying to provide for us, to show her that we could build the life she wanted. But Emily's expectations had already shifted. It was no longer about living comfortably. It was about affording everything she saw online. Luxury apartments, expensive vacations, branded clothes. I can't do this anymore," she said one evening, sitting on the edge of our bed, her voice trembling. "I love you, but I need security. I need stability. You can't give me that." I froze. "Emily, we've been together through everything. I've promised you that we'll make it together." She shook her head, tears brimming in her eyes. "I know, but love isn't enough. I need a life where I don't have to struggle." And just like that, she walked away. I didn't try to stop her. I couldn't. The first week was unbearable. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Every song on the radio reminded me of her. Every street corner held a memory. Every photograph screamed her absence. I replayed our conversations endlessly, trying to pinpoint the moment I had failed her, or when she had failed me. Friends tried to help, suggesting I move on, that she wasn't right for me. But their words felt hollow. How do you move on from someone who was your first real love? The person who knew your quirks, your fears, and your dreams. I couldn't erase her. I couldn't delete her from my mind. Months passed. I threw myself into my work. I stayed late at the office, took on extra projects, traveled for work, and focused on personal growth. I learned to cook, started exercising, and tried hobbies I had ignored before. Painting, reading novels, even writing short stories. But none of it filled the void she left behind. I reflected a lot during that time. I realized something essential. Love is not always enough. Even the deepest love cannot overcome every obstacle. And sometimes, people make choices based on priorities that don't align with yours. Emily had chosen financial security over love, and as much as it hurt, I had to accept that. One afternoon, nearly a year after our breakup, I was walking down a busy street when I saw her. She was sitting at a cafe, laughing with a man in a tailored suit, clearly affluent. She looked radiant, happy, and completely comfortable. My chest tightened with a strange mix of jealousy, sadness, and relief. She glanced up, noticed me for a fleeting second, and then returned to her companion, smiling. I realized then that I wasn't the one who had lost anything. She had chosen a life where she didn't have to compromise or struggle, but she had also walked away from someone who genuinely loved her. Heartbreak is more than sadness. It's a teacher. Losing Emily taught me to value myself and recognize my own worth. It showed me that love without mutual respect, shared priorities, and commitment is fragile. I learned to prioritize my own growth, to focus on building a life I could be proud of, and to surround myself with people who appreciated me for who I am. I began to invest in myself, not just financially, but emotionally and intellectually. I reconnected with old friends, joined a mentorship program, and started traveling alone to explore parts of the world I had only dreamed of. I discovered that while heartbreak leaves scars, it also opens doors to self-discovery and resilience. Sometimes love isn't enough, and sometimes the person you love isn't the person you're meant to be with. Emily's choice wasn't a reflection of my inadequacy, but of her own priorities and values. She sought comfort and security, while I sought connection and authenticity. Neither of us was wrong. It was simply a matter of incompatible paths. I also realized that love is as much about timing and alignment as it is about feelings. The person who walks into your life and ignites your heart may not always be the one who stays, but the lessons they leave behind are invaluable. Months later, I met someone new, a woman who appreciated the little things, who valued sincerity over material possessions. Our connection was different, quieter, more grounded. It didn't erase Emily, but it reminded me that love, when aligned with values and priorities, can be sustainable and beautiful. I no longer dwell on the pain of losing her. Instead, I remember the joy we shared, the lessons I learned, and the strength I gained. Life had taught me that love is precious, but self-worth is even more so. I still remember the rain that night, how helpless I felt running after Emily. But that night, and all the nights after, taught me something vital. Heartbreak is not the end. It is a beginning, a chance to grow, to learn, and to prepare for a love that will truly match your heart, your values, and your soul. Sometimes the hardest lessons come wrapped in loss, and sometimes losing someone who values money over your heart is the best gift you could ever receive. Love can hurt, heartbreak can sting, but true strength comes from knowing your worth and never settling for someone who chooses wealth over your heart. Thank you so much for watching this story till the end. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe even learned something from it. If you'd like to hear more stories like this, full of life lessons, drama, and emotions, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you'll never miss an update. Your support means the world, and it helps me keep bringing you more inspiring and unforgettable stories. Stay tuned because more amazing stories are on the way.